I'm Megan Skidmore, and this is Beyond the Shadow of Doubt. I am a woman, daughter, sister, spouse, mother, life coach, and person of faith on a mission to normalize asking questions and allowing doubts, not only in a faith journey, but in all aspects of life. Join me in bringing this traditionally taboo topic out of the shadows of shame and into the sunlight. I'm a firm believer that we normalize through more talking and having more discussion. When we're more authentic about our journey, we are more powerful because shame has no power in the face of authenticity. I'm currently hosting a podcast giveaway. To enter, simply leave a review and a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and upload a screenshot to my Google Doc. Share this giveaway with a friend, and if your friend's name is drawn, you both win a $100 gift card. The link to enter, including to the Google Doc, is in the show notes or in the bio of my Instagram profile. Today, I welcome friend and fellow coach Amber Smith to the podcast. As a business coach, she often talks money with clients. Taken from her website, she says, "I used to pray I could make money. I thought if I prayed hard enough, God would answer my prayer. God didn't answer my prayer with money. I was shown truth. There is only abundance. I was given mentors and teachers to help me see that there was already wealth available in my life. Money was only one form of wealth, and I could learn how to create it. I could also learn how to create peace and meaningful, honest, empowering relationships. I didn't need to try to manipulate God into giving me what I wanted. I could become the person in God's image who can create with my own free will and choice." I hope you enjoy listening to my interview with Amber as much as I enjoyed creating it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast. So thrilled to have you here with me today, as I am just so looking forward to this conversation that I'm going to have with our guest, Amber Smith. I truly am honored that Amber was able to take some time from her busy schedule to spend it here today with me. I met Amber last November at the Fearless Business Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I think I was just smitten with your coaching philosophy and process and just the way that you are as a coach. I just loved it. And I feel like we connected there. And I've always remembered that. And I love to work with you in any way that I can. So recently I participated in the revamp program.
Yeah.
And your quantum play class, which lasted for about 5 or 6 weeks. And then I'm also enrolled in your Abundant Coach Mastermind at the end of the month. And one thing that you'll find about Amber, and I'll give Amber the chance to share, she offers so much valuable content and she offers so many ways to work with her, some of which is at no cost. And so you are going to want to buckle up for this interview. Anyway, I want to give you the opportunity, Amber, to introduce yourself to our listeners, share all about you, your origin story, your background, all of the things.
Well, thank you, Megan. I remember meeting you at Fearless, and it was likewise a connection that I remember as well. Just your mission in the world is so cool. So yeah, I was speaking at Fearless because I'm also a coach like you. Mm-hmm. And I do life and business coaching, but my origin story, I think, may be interesting. So I thought I was going to be a therapist. Studied psychology for my undergrad, started my master's program, and then had my first baby and kind of reevaluated what I wanted out of my life. Mm-hmm. And then kind of stumbled into the coaching industry, I think through YouTube or something like I just found I think it was Tony Robbins was the first guy that I found and was like, I'm a psych major and never heard about life coaching. And so obviously this is like the highlight reel, right? Started a blog, started coaching. I coached basically anyone who would let me in the beginning. So I did all sorts of life coaching and just fell in love with the industry. And, over time, just really love the high level concepts. I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of the belief stuff that I think changes lives, right? Changing what you believe can literally change every part of your life. And I have, evidence of that for myself as a mom, as a business owner, as a wife, as a person of faith, but also just witnessing my clients, helping them change their belief systems and witnessing miracles over time. So I'm a huge believer in this work. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And you are also a mom. So you are balancing a lot of hats.
Yes. 3 little girls.
Yes. Well, thank you again. So Amber, as you know, because I've shared with you, I created this podcast in an attempt to normalize asking questions, allowing doubts that we all have. A lot of my focus is on faith journeys. However, I have guests of all backgrounds. And so sometimes we talk about the questions and doubts that can come up in life in general as well. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, I was in your quantum play class / mastermind that lasted for about 5 weeks. And some of the things that you shared in that class just blew my mind, because the way that you described belief, it was in a way I'd not ever heard anybody else share before. So I'd like to just dive right in, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Well, here, before we jump in, maybe you can share with our listeners what the quantum play class was and what your goal was and what the purpose, just to kind of give them a vantage point.
Yeah, so I called it quantum play. I could have called it quantum faith, because to me, it's about applied faith and using beliefs really intentionally to create results that you want. We talked about the quantum field and how I think of it as like the realm of miracles and the unknown and pure potentiality, where it's the things that you don't even know you don't know. And I shared a quote. I actually brought it up just in case we were going to talk about this, because I think when you emailed me about being on the podcast, you mentioned a quote that I shared, which is, we question all of our beliefs except for those that we truly believe and those that we never think to question. And that's by Orson Scott Card. And that's a really powerful quote, because it's like the blind spot, right? We don't even know, we don't think to question the beliefs that we truly believe. And I think for a lot of us I like to think about, like, kind of peeking behind the curtain to see, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are like this, like, I have some questions. I want to know more about that. And then you start almost like pulling a thread of like all these thoughts and ideas that you didn't even know you believed. Mm-hmm. And now you're willing to look at it and say, do I still believe this? That was something that I want to continue to believing. And so in quantum play, I like to use the word play because I don't think it has to be so serious, even though it can be for a lot of people. It's really just, in my experience, like consciously choosing which beliefs you want to keep as a part of your life that serve mm-hmm. you. And then being brave enough to look at the ones like, does this belief serve me? And am I willing to let it go in mm-hmm. favor of what I want to create?
And I would add to that, first of all, so powerful that you term this a blind spot. That is so true. We don't think to question things that we already believe. Back in my 3rd episode, when I was very first starting, I did an episode on the anatomy of a belief. And so to kind of continue on what you were just saying is, we forget that we chose that belief in the first place, even if it was a belief that we were encouraged to have.
Yep.
Maybe we felt pressured to have, or perhaps we were presented with several different options. Regardless, we still chose to believe it. And so what happened was that was a thought. That's what a belief is. It's a thought, a sentence in our brain that we then thought over and over and over again, to a point where it just was, that neural pathway was so ingrained in our brain, we just believe it. And it feels so true to us because we believe it.
Yeah.
And so this is powerful work. These are powerful concepts. And I think that's why it rang so true for me to hear you bring them up in the quantum play. And I love that you also thought of calling it quantum faith.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. So in one of our classes, you said the most dangerous beliefs are the ones we don't challenge. I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about that and what you mean by that.
Yeah. So I'll go back into my story a little bit. Before I
Yeah.
started doing belief work, that's kind of what we refer to it as,
Yeah.
where it's like I was willing to look at what I believed. I had a story in my head about how I was, and I thought I was just saying what was true about me, right? Like I'm not creative, or I don't have a good imagination, or like I don't have a lot of persistence or whatever, right? And when I started a business, probably like you mean, like there's like a lot of beliefs that you have to challenge about yourself. And I realized some of the stories that I had believed about myself were not true. Like I thought that so and so, like growing up, I would hear like, oh, Amber's so athletic, or Amber's such a peacemaker. And I thought that was just true. And this is why it's so dangerous, is because there's other stories like those probably served me being athletic, right? Like I was an athlete, but there's other ones like I'm not creative that really hurt me in the beginning of my business, because I was like, well, I'm just not creative. Like I don't have good ideas. Or another one is like, I'm not that interesting. And I just thought, and this is why it's dangerous. Like I said, like, I just thought it was true. It's just, I thought this is who I was. This is how it is. And once I was introduced to belief work, I got to hold up that sentence in my brain, like you shared, I'm not interesting, and look at it and say, if this is a belief, do I want this to be true? And that's like mind blowing, right? That I could just decide, like, what if this wasn't true? What do I want to believe instead? And I think the danger is that most people don't do that. They just think that they're reporting about themselves or other people, that that's just how it is, instead of witnessing the thoughts that are going through their brain that they've accepted as true. They just don't even know that they've accepted it as true. Like you said, they've chosen it, but they might not remember actually choosing it. It's just their operating system, how they see the world.
Yeah. You brought up this concept of truth. I will say that in my work as a coach, working with my own coaches for my own work, as well as working with clients, I've expanded my understanding of the word truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say capital T truth, little t truth. And I think particularly in faith communities, red flags will go up. Perhaps fear or worry, concern will be emotions that come up for people. But one thing I have learned is that someone else's truth can be different from my own. And by that, I mean, I was born olive complected. Is that a word? With an olive complexion.
Yeah. I knew what you
And
meant.
so growing up, nobody put sunblock on in the 70s and 80s anyway, but I did not sunburn. I never did, rarely.
Yeah.
But I have two kids, and one of my children was never able to get brown, whether or not there was sunscreen
Yeah.
put on, right? Their skin was very pale, I just mean very light. And so it was pretty much burn or stay in the shade or wear loads and loads of sunblock. So for me, my truth is I was born with a certain amount of melatonin in my skin. And even though I had two children, they were both born with different levels, right?
Yeah.
Different experiences when it comes to spending time out in the sun. And I think we can call that their truth and my truth. When that gets mixed in with capital T truths, I think is when perhaps there's some confusion or people understand it in a different way. And that's when worry or fear or even walls can go up a little bit when it comes to hearing another person's story or experience about life, when we're maybe used to it all being or taught that it's all supposed to be the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts and your experience
Yeah.
on
So
that?
I like to ask, like, I think it depends on what you want to create, right? Is it true that going north is wrong? Well, it depends on where you want to go. If you're trying to go to South America, you probably shouldn't go north. North would
Mhm.
be wrong, right? But not wrong in that like this is bad or this is evil to go north. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Mhm.
like, I want to go to South America. So, like, to use your sunscreen example, like, was it bad for you not to wear sunscreen? No. But you also were like, you had a different context, and the result that you
Yeah.
wanted was to be able to be outside and without being hurt. And you could do that without sunscreen.
Mhm.
For your children, if they want to go outside and have a good time, they need a different context to make that happen. So what is true is personal in that case.
Mhm.
Like when I get into conversations with my family members and we see things differently, I always ask them, well, what are you trying to create? What is the end result that you're working towards? Because that can help you
Mhm.
inform which truth we are focused on together.
Yeah.
And this is like high level. Not everyone wants to go there because it's hard.
That is so true. And to be fair, right. I think even just being willing to dabble in the idea that not everybody is going to experience or have the same lenses over their eyes when it comes to their life experience,
Totally.
period. And so even if someone doesn't enjoy talking or having these types of discussions, for sure you can benefit from this idea that there's as many different experiences in life as there are humans on this planet, and those that have come before us and those that will have
Yeah.
yet to come.
And that's the beautiful part of life.
Mm-hmm. Right. So another thing that you taught us in quantum play is sometimes doubt offers us intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I would love for you to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I had a coach myself early on who was, this is a common saying among coaches is like, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? Do you want to be rich? Do you want to be loving? Do you want to be right? Or do you want to stay married? Right. And
Uh-huh.
so I think in order to get the results we want, we have to risk being wrong, which to me means engaging with our doubt. And I think when I think of intelligence, it's useful truth, or it's like truth that serves my life, right? It's intelligence that I can use to live a life that I want and have the relationships that I want. And sometimes that means, like, I call it like the gray zone, where like, I don't know. I've learned to say, I don't know a lot more. When people ask me hard questions, I'm like, I really don't know. And I don't make that mean something's wrong. I learned so much by being in the gray zone and asking questions about myself, about other people, about what love really means, that I wouldn't want to be certain
Mm-hmm.
again. I like the doubts because it like makes me have a richer experience of other people, of empathy, all the good things.
Wow. So how do you think you were able to get to being comfortable in that gray zone where you actually just said, I like the gray zone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be back in the certainty zone.
I think part of it is like the ego death. I don't know if you like talked about that with your listeners, but just to me, the
No,
ego is
please
like this.
enlighten us.
Okay, is like the constructed self. Who, like, growing up, someone told me I was this way, that it helped me form my self concept about myself, and now I have to protect that self, right? Because that's who I am, even if it's false, not really who I am. And another way that I like to think about this, there's like my personality and character traits and all these things that I've constructed versus there's the me that's always true no matter what, which are two
Mhm.
different things, right? And
I totally get that. There's the person that we are told that we are.
yes, and that we believe
Right.
in, at least to a certain
It
degree.
becomes the way we define ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, our parents tell us, oh, you're really good with a baseball and a bat.
Yes,
You are athletic.
you are athletic. Yep.
Versus another one of their kiddos, they could say, oh, wow, you're so musically inclined. I can't believe that you wrote that piece just off the top of your head, right? You're defining yourself based on kind of external cues.
Yes. And then you reinforce it with your own beliefs.
Okay.
And then over time, that's like the belief that we don't challenge, right? Like, well, I am just insert personality trait,
Right.
right? Like, I am just this way. I've always been impatient. That's just who I am.
Yes.
And that's like the danger that we talked about a little earlier. If you're not willing to question, like, is that always true? Am I always impatient? Is this an absolute capital T truth about me?
Yeah.
And it's like funny when you say it in a context like this, it's like the obvious answer is no. I think the problem is like we play out this out in our lives and we're not aware of it, right? Which is why coaching is so valuable, because we shine a light on the things that we can't see ourselves by nature. And so to go back to the conversation about ego, and there's like, not like, oh, he has such a big ego. I don't mean it that way. It's like, I would say like the false self or the constructed self, the mask you wear around other people. And maybe that mask changes depending on who you're with, which is common, right? And so when I started looking at that, I'm like, oh, like that version of me wants to be right. But that version of me is so certain that like I stopped learning. I stopped being curious.
Oh, wow.
And like, that's not how I wanted to live my life. I always wanted to be on like the learning side. And so it actually didn't feel good. I like something felt wrong, And so by questioning my beliefs and just being really open, like, this is what I believe, but also I could be wrong. And I'm really open to that.
Yes.
Because I'm not trying to like, the reason that we protect the ego is it's like a little bit painful when we're wrong or when people disagree. And so we, try to be as certain as possible. Whereas I'm like, I have nothing to lose and everything to learn. Like, that's really how I see life. So I don't even care. It's not that I don't care. It's like my ego cares if people think I'm wrong, but like my higher self really wants to know that information. I want to challenge that and live in the gray zone. Like, I don't know.
I think a lot of people are afraid of being wrong. I'm not really sure where that comes from other than upbringing, home, various communities of which they may be a part, whether it's a civic community, a faith community, a type of cultural community, even regional communities, right?
Totally.
Various locations throughout our own country and other countries. But I do believe there is this fear people have of being wrong. And of course, you and I know as coaches, it's because they're making it mean something about themselves. And so I think it's really healthy for you, for us as coaches to say out loud, I want to be right, but I also want to be curious and learning. I could be wrong and I'm okay with that. And I would add from a bigger picture view, for those that, whether you call it a higher power, believe in God, believe in the universe, something greater than all of us. I believe God has placed a lot of value in that process of learning and growth, regardless of whether we are, quote, right or wrong. Maybe there isn't any one right way, but we have to be willing to lean into that concept before I think we could even be okay with this possibility of being wrong. But I really think that we shortchange ourselves.
Totally. I think that that's really, really powerful, what you just said. I think too, we have to be really honest about what we get, like almost like on a selfish level from being right. Like we get that, that feeling of either like significance or power or certainty about being right. And then we miss this whole other
almost feeding that ego that you were mentioning before. Yes, absolutely. So when you find something that you don't understand or that doesn't make sense to you, that doesn't resonate, you don't feel aligned inside, would you mind just walking us through the process of what you do? If you can even think of a specific thing, but just what does that look like, sound like, feel like for you when you are presented with new information that you're just not really sure about?
Yeah. The first one that came to mind, just because I've done so much of my own work around money mindset, that was like the first thing that I thought.
Okay,
it might not be relevant, but that's where my mind went. Because when I first started my business, like I kind of had this story that like people who made a lot of money were kind of bad, or at least they must be doing something kind of sketchy, or they're never with their family.
Yes.
They have to
Okay.
give up so much. And what's interesting, so how my process is, I pay attention to how I feel. I didn't feel good. Like I felt kind of yucky, kind of judgmental about these people. And I think this part of it is like being really honest about what you actually are experiencing with the information. And one of the things that I've learned about emotions is like, I see it as like a guidepost. So if I'm feeling bad, that is an indication to me that I'm believing something that's not totally true. And so when I felt bad about judging,
Wow.
looking at that person who's like making a lot of money, I'm like, oh, they're probably never with their family. And I didn't feel good about that. And I was like, okay, that probably means that might not be true. Or it's not like what you said, like something true for me. And so I was like, what do I want to be true here? Or what am I open to believing? What's a possibility here that I'm not seeing? It's like, what if that person is with their family and making a lot of money?
Yeah.
Right? Who am I to judge? I have no idea who this person
Yes.
actually is. It's just me, the information that I observed, I think on social media, And so I think I shared a few, and I like went through that at hyperspeed. So I'll go back and kind of like deconstruct each thing. First one is like, you have to be self-aware. You have to be willing to look at what you're really thinking and really believing and really saying to yourself about other people and how they live their life. And then noticing how that feels in your body. Does that actually feel good to be judgmental? Like, no, it doesn't. And that's because you're believing something that's not true, usually. And so that's my indicator, like what could be more true here? And then I go looking for the belief that I want to adopt.
Wow. So what I absolutely love about this example that you shared is it's really an excellent example of, I think, what we all do. We view other people's lives through our own lenses.
Yep.
I think it's almost just this hum that's just right there below the surface of our mind, our brain, our feelings, whatever, that I think we just automatically assume that somebody is thinking the same way that we do, is enjoying or not enjoying certain things in the same way that we do, or believes a certain way that we do. It's just, that's a really good example of we have our own lenses on and we're viewing their life situation through those lenses.
Yeah.
And I really believe this. If we don't learn how to take our own lenses off, we will always struggle to truly see other people for who they are.
I agree.
Like their heart.
Yep. I heard once, and I can't remember who said this, but I was like, interesting. He said you can replace the word belief with assumption. And so you could ask yourself, what do you assume about that person? And if you are really honest, a lot of times it'll show you where you're probably not being your highest self, right? It's usually a judgment. And you often don't even know the people.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Like, what are you assuming?
That's
That's what you believe about them.
Oh, this is why I love to talk to you. Wow. That's so good. So another thing you said during our class, you said telling yourself, we'll see how this goes, speaks to doubt more than faith.
Yep.
Tell our listeners what you mean by that.
I think this is from my own experience where a lot of my lessons came from business, which is why I am a business coach, because that was my own work. So when I started my business, it was like, well, we'll see how this goes. And it felt so like safe there, because then if I failed, it was fine. I was just going to see how it would go versus picking a result I really wanted and then putting faith into that result, that I'm here until this works, is the shift, right? Is the belief that I have now. It doesn't give me an easy out, right? Doubt is one of those sneaky things that like, it seems safe, like that one. We'll see if this works, is actually me expressing doubt, not faith.
It is. That's so true. And this concept of safety, that's so important. I think that's kind of at the heart of a lot of these concepts. having to do with belief and
Yeah.
challenging those beliefs, or even
Totally.
being willing to tease them a little bit, go back to where did this belief of mine come from, and what is it really? We are pretty content as humans to stay in our warm, fuzzy blankets and cocoons,
Totally.
and I get it, and I think there are definitely times where that is important, right? We
Yep.
always want to take into account where we're at regulating our nervous system. We never want to push ourselves. You've got your zone of comfort, your zone of discomfort, and then you've got your
Trigger.
yes,
Yeah.
you've got your zone of shutdown.
Yeah.
I forget the term. There's a term for it, but basically where there's no growth, there's nothing, because you've pushed yourself outside of where you can actually function. So I want to shift a little bit to talking a little bit about these concepts as it relates to a faith journey specifically, and asking you how asking questions and doubt and allowing doubts has helped you personally in your faith journey, in your discipleship, in relationship with God. I guess we didn't mention at the very beginning, you are of a conservative faith background.
Yep.
Were you born and raised in the LDS church, is it?
Yep.
Okay. So that just gives listeners a foundation. So anyway, I'll give you a chance to answer that question.
Yeah. I think growing up, like, a faith journey was not called a faith journey.
True.
Unfortunately. So I was really scared of questioning, because I'm like, oh, people who ask questions are a certain way, right? And I can't be that certain way, like this, like, almost not like, it wasn't a sinner, but it was like, we don't ask those questions, like, we have faith in what we're taught. But as I got older,
you're going rogue.
Yeah. Or something. It's so funny now, because I consider myself like deeply in my faith journey, and like I said, I like the gray zone. So I ask
totally
really hard questions of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a lot of answers, and I'm okay with that. But growing up, that's not how I experienced my faith. And so when I think of faith journey, one of the things that I started asking is, like, where did this belief come from? Which is something that you mentioned a little bit ago. And a lot of times it was my parents, and I love my parents. And it's just, do I want their beliefs to be mine? Am I willing to question my beliefs that came from them, and choose more consciously, this is a belief that I want to keep. This is a belief I want to dismiss. And I can love my parents and love people and still not agree with their beliefs. And that's okay. And I think that's what the beauty of the gray zone is I don't need anyone to believe like me, just like I don't believe I have to believe like anyone else, right? I get to consciously choose. And so the word faith journey to me, like the word journey is so important, right? There's not like really like a destination that you're trying to get to. It's more just like the word deconstruction comes to mind. Like, okay, I had these beliefs until a certain age, and now I'm asking myself, do these beliefs still serve me in the highest expression of who I want to be, in the highest version of love I want to offer people?
Yes, that's such a great way to look at it. A journey doesn't indicate a specific destination. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And I have even adopted, and I've said this in previous episodes, I call mine a faith expansion, because I'm continually adding to it, and I'm getting additional insight on, for me, what have been core beliefs that I have had the opportunity to decide on purpose. Yes, that one resonates with me. I'm keeping that one. This one over here, like you say, the gray area.
Yep.
So I would love to know your thoughts on moving these types of conversations, or at least inviting them more into our communities, whether that be with our families. I know you have young children. So by family, I mean, it could be your immediate family. It could be extended family. It could be our neighborhood communities. It could be our faith communities. This idea of being able to have and cultivate, foster open communication, and be able to be, authentic about it, about your journey.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is don't go into it wanting to be right. And that's really hard for a lot of people, because they think they are right. And so when I have a conversation with my family, and all of us have very different views of a lot of things, and some of us agree on some things and disagree on others, and we have like a whole range of like a spectrum of beliefs, right? Like most families, right? And I don't go into it thinking like I'm going to make them believe like me, or I'm right. I don't even think I'm right. I don't even know if I'm right. I'm like, this is what I believe, but I'm open to being wrong.
Yeah.
And there's that like almost like that, like, I don't want to use the word humility, but it's close. It's like I'm just very open and curious. I think that's another thing that coaches naturally have, but I don't think you need to be a coach to be curious about your loved ones, just like so deeply curious about why they think the way that they think, what happened in their life to lead them to that conclusion. I worked at a residential treatment center when I was in college, and these girls, it was for teenage girls, all had stories. Some of them broke the law and did things inappropriate. Some of them made big mistakes in their life. A lot of them were really struggling, depression, anxiety, things like that. And I just really deeply learned, like, you don't know what people have been through and why they're doing what they're doing or why they believe what they believe. And so you have to, like you say, take off your own glasses about your assumptions about the person and get so almost like in love with them, so curious about their history that like you just are open to hearing their experience without judgment.
It's like almost like you come to this place of awareness where you realize you've filled in a lot of blanks.
Totally.
And so consciously remove those blanks, right? And just have an open-ended story. Actually, not even a story, just have a blank slate and yes, I love that. Be deeply curious, love them for the human being that they are and for what they might potentially share with you. Yep. You shared this idea of where our beliefs, sometimes they come from our parents. And you said, I can love my parents and I can also love my faith journey and my beliefs. I think that's a really key point to consider when you're talking about going into these open dialogues that we're talking about cultivating in our communities. And you said, don't go into it wanting to be right. I think that's a fear-based approach. I think it stems from a lot of those beliefs that we probably learned from our parents, those who came before us in whatever way, whether it was a teacher, a neighbor. And it's like you said, we didn't call this a faith journey. Well, you're probably a good 15 years younger than me, maybe 20, but they didn't call it that when I was growing up.
They didn't, when I was little, they didn't call it a faith journey. And it was like a crisis. Something went wrong.
Because there was this either or. There wasn't this option of, I'm going to hold in one hand these beliefs that my parents passed down to me, and I can still respect it while exploring over here in this other hand. It doesn't have to be either or. And I think sometimes that's why we go into it subconsciously, probably wanting to be right, is because we honestly were raised that way.
And it's scary.
There wasn't an option to think differently, really.
Yeah, it's scary. I think, I have a lot of compassion for my parents who don't, it's not like they don't question. It's just like they're so solid in what they believe, that's their right? They can do that.
Yeah.
But I do think for me, when I was doing the non-questioning, I guess I'll call it that, where I wasn't asking hard questions, it was because I was afraid to look a little bit deeper. And so I have a lot of compassion for people who are afraid to challenge their beliefs. It is scary.
Yeah.
Because if your certainty comes from outside of you or from other people and what they believe, right, that can be, that can shake things up in your life. Yeah. And so even though I live in a lot of uncertainty or in the gray zone, I'm really certain in myself. Yeah. Right? I know who I am. And I think that paradox it opens the door for more honest communication with our loved ones, to bring it back to what you're asking with the family.
That is so true. That is absolutely so true, that I think it's easier to live in the gray area when it's by choice.
Yeah.
When you take in the reins of your own journey like that.
Totally.
Well, I always love to ask this final question of my guests, and that is, what does it mean to you to live beyond the shadow of doubt?
Yeah, it's a really powerful question. To me, it means I'm willing to ask myself hard questions, but not be like emotionally swayed, where it's like I can't function. You know what I mean? When I live beyond the shadow of a doubt or that concept, it doesn't mean that I'm miserable or struggling or alone. You know what I mean? It means that I'm asking hard questions, but in a way that like I'm still grounded. I still have peace, because I create that for myself, right? Like with in the coaching term, like with my own thoughts, right? I can find peace and a steadfastness, regardless of how many doubts are swirling or how many things I'm questioning. Like I'm still okay, and my relationships are okay. They can withstand some of the harder conversations.
Ooh, I love that. It's almost meta.
Yeah.
Like you're looking outside of yourself. I love that so much. Awesome. Thank you so much for all these words of wisdom and truth bombs and just food for thought. So many good things. I have just a few questions that I like to throw out at the end. 1-word answers or 1 or 2-word answers is all that I'm looking for, just to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
Share with us what your favorite book is.
Ooh, my favorite book? Fantasy or fiction?
Either.
Okay. Well, I'm reading Harry Potter with my daughter, and I just love the Harry Potter series.
Oh, so fun to read that through a child's eyes. How fun.
Yes.
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert.
Yes, I think I knew that. Your favorite artist?
Ooh, does Taylor Swift count?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm wearing her shirt right now.
Fun. Are you a night owl or a morning lark?
I used to be a night owl. Now I'm a morning person. Kids.
Yes. Yeah, I always struggled with that when my kids were younger. Do you have a celebrity crush?
I don't.
No,
but I used to.
crushes.
I used to. Zac Efron used to be my celebrity crush.
Okay, that's fun. And do you do still or carbonated water, or are you a diet soda drinker?
I'm a diet soda drinker.
You are? Yes. What is yours of choice?
I love Dr. Pepper Zero.
I do too. Have you tried the strawberries and cream?
No, but I've seen it. It looks
so good.
I do the cream soda one.
Oh, that's yummy too.
Yeah.
Okay. And the furthest place you've traveled?
I've been to Greece.
Oh, we just ate Greek the other night. Ooh. And we were talking about visiting there.
Yeah.
My sister was in town and they've been so amazing. So fun to get to know you.
No, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Please share with everybody how they can connect with you, how they can find you, and about any offers that you have.
Yeah. So I have a podcast called the Conscious Coach Podcast, mostly for entrepreneurs and coaches. But I have a few listeners who aren't coaches either. So that's kind of fun. They just like, hearing my thoughts on like this kind of conversation. And then you can follow me on Instagram at It's Amber Smith.
Sweet.
Probably the best place to get connected.
Awesome. So grateful again to have you. Thank you so much for your time. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Come join me in Hopeful Spaces, a Dallas Hope Charities component of Hopeful Discussions, which is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz Financial Services USA. Hopeful Spaces is a monthly parent, caregiver, and ally support group facilitated by Megan Skidmore Coaching. To join is free. Simply send an email to chc@dallashopecharities.org. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com, where you can find this podcast as well as additional free resources. Check the podcast show notes on any platform for links to sources cited. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more and to send me a DM. To help the podcast grow, please follow, rate, and review, as well as share it with a friend. Beyond the Shadow of Doubt is a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, which is a part of the Dialogue Journal found at dialoguejournal.com/podcast network. Founder Eugene England was a Mormon writer, teacher, and scholar who wrote, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue. My hope is that this podcast is an extension of that vision. Thanks for being here. Until next time.